Hello everyone, I'm Ernie and I'm so glad you're here with us today. Today we are out in the hills and as you can see behind me on this windy day that there is a mound of tailings. I was told by many old timers and others that the process of the old timers that used to mine in these areas was not as good and retrieving the gold like it is today. And so these guys were telling me that if I were to capture some of these tailings and grind them down and smelt them, that I should be able to get some gold out of that, out of these tailings. And so that's what we're going to do today. And I'm curious to find out how this process is going to work and if I'm going to get any good amount of gold in what we're about to do. So join me today in this process and let's see what we find. Okay. We are set up and we're ready to get some material. As you can see behind me, we have this pile of tailings. I have two 5-gallon buckets, which I'm going to fill up, and I'm hoping to capture between 40 to 50 pounds of tailings of material in my buckets. I'm going to use this half-inch classifier because I don't want to get any big rocks, big ore, where I have to hand crush them. And so I want to be able just to bring the size home of material where I can run it through the rock crusher and get through this process a lot quicker. And so let's get started. This material looks really good. I just might bring some of the smaller rocks home and crush those up because they're not too big and it should be okay on the chains on the rock crusher. Got one bucket done. Okay, I think we got about our 50 pounds of ore at least, and so we will wrap this up and we will take it to our work area, crush it down, wash it up, and smelt it. And let's get going. Hello, and we are back at our work area. We have our 60 pounds of material that we're going to crush up in the K&M rock crusher, and then we will go ahead and wash it out and then smelt it and find out what we get. All right, here is our 60 pounds of material. You can see what it looks like. This side here is a little moist, but man, it's got some really good color in it. I'm really curious to find out what we get in it. So let's get to crushing. Hey, we have a slight issue here. The material is really moist. It's amazing because it hasn't rained here for a couple of days, but sitting in the bucket overnight, it has retained so much moisture, and what it's doing, it is clogging up the rock crusher. Let's take a look at it. You can see the rock crusher and the material that's in there and how compacted it is, and the screen is clogged up, and you can see how hard it is. And so anyhow, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this up, and I'm going to take this screen out right here, and we'll run it without the screen, and the material will be able to go through there. Then what I'll do, I'll classify this material and get the larger stones, the larger ore, and then we'll crush that with the screen on the rock crusher. So let's get to it. All right, what I wanted to show you was the material after I had ran it through the K&M rock crusher, and I was pretty amazed because this bucket was about 2/3 of the way full, and now you can see how high the material is. It must have fluffed it up some. But anyway, I'm going to classify it into another bucket, and we'll see what we get. Here is some of the materials that we classified out, and we're getting it crushed up. Here is our material that we have crushed up, and the rock crusher did an excellent job of crushing this material. Here we have our two buckets that we had classified. Actually, the one here on the left had just been classified. The bucket on the right had been run through the rock crusher. All right, what we're going to do right now, we're going to wash our material out. We're not going to use the poor man's sluice box because we don't need to. So we're just going to do it the regular way. And we've gone through this process before. All right, we're through washing this up in our 5-gallon bucket. We're going to take it to our sluice box and clean this stuff up. Let's go do it. All right, we're going to wash out our material, and we'll get it down to the concentrate. And once we do that, we can pan it out and roast it, dry it, and then we can smelt it. Let's get to it. All right, we are done washing our concentrate. I've panned everything out, and this is what we got as far as with our concentrate from 60 pounds of tailings. I don't know if you can see everything that is shining inside there, but it looks pretty darn good. This material was completely different from everything else I had ever worked on. So I'm really curious to find out what's in it. What we're going to do right now, we're going to get it into this pan. We're going to dry it out, but the main thing is that we're going to take the sulfides, and as we boil it and as we cook it, it turns the sulfides into oxides. you can see our concentrate boiling, and when the water boils out, this will reach a temperature of about 500 degrees. And when we do that, it will take the sulfides and turn it into oxides. And occasionally during this period, I will stir this to make sure all the sulfides get roasted. All right, we're ready to weigh up our concentrate. You can see it in the pan, and we got our scale, we got our cup, and let's get this in here and see what we get. Whew, just barely caught that in time. That wind is really blowing strong today. We have 36 grams depending upon how the wind is blowing, and so I better hold this before the wind blows it away. But we have 36 grams of concentrate, and so now let's mix up the flux and get this going. We have our flux mixed up in the pan. Actually, we haven't mixed it up yet, but anyhow, we have 36 grams of concentrate, we have 36 grams of borax, 36 grams of soda ash. I did not add any silica into this mix, is because we had plenty of sand inside the concentrate. And then we also have 15 grams of potassium nitrate, 36 grams of Chapman's flux, and we put in 12 grams of litharge with flour. I'm going to mix this up. We'll get the furnace heated up and we'll get this burn going. All right, our crucible is warmed up. It is starting to turn a little red inside there, but let's get this process going. I just have one piece of rebar inside here because that's all we need. Get this thing centered. Let's get the heat turned up some. And this process should take about an hour. All right, we are ready to pour our burn into our cone mold. I just want to say once again, the reason why we have our pan and our cone mold heated up is because we don't want any thermal shock. And what the thermal shock is that the concentrate that's melted is about 2,000 degrees, maybe a little bit more. And if the cone mold is cold and the pan is cold, and I go to pour the molten material in the cone mold, it will cause like a little explosion because of the temperature change. Almost something like a thunderstorm. When the hot air and the cold air meet, it creates thunder. So we definitely don't want any thermal shock, and I definitely don't want to get burned. But we got this heated up enough, and let's do this pour and let's see what we get. Caught my table on fire. First thing I'm going to do is to remove the rebar. And if you can see what happened to it, it got eaten up really, really good. Here is our cone mold. And I'm sure we got a prill on top. Let's go ahead and break this up and clean it up and see what we get. Here is our lead prill. It's small, but of course, we only had 12 grams of litharge with flour. Actually, it's high litharge with flour. And we're going to grab this, we're going to pick it up, and we're going to bring it to the scale and weigh it. And it weighs 6 grams. All right, we have our bone ash cupel that we made the other day, and we're going to put our lead prill into it and find out what we get. Here we have our material that we got out of our cupel. You can see that it is very dirty, but in the center of it, there is some gold. And in my jeweler's loop, it's very shiny and clean gold. I'm disappointed that I didn't get this cleaned up a bit. I maybe should have cupelled it a little longer, but anyhow, this is what we got. We did get a little bit of gold out of that 60 pounds of tailings. It doesn't really weigh anything, so I can't give you an estimated grams per ton. That is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We got our material, we got our bead, and it was such a good learning experience for me. I hope it was a good learning experience for you as well. And thank you so much for being with us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please smash that like button and please share it so others can learn this process. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please hit the subscribe button. We would deeply appreciate it. And once again, we thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you on the next one.